Hey guys, this is Blue Star for you. Today I'm going to show you my rear wheel drive setup on my Eagle Racing R31 drift chassis. Stick around. Okay, for the ride height, I'm using my Eagle Racing ride height gauge, and I do front and rear. I do it 5 and 5 all the way around. At this point I'm going to add that I took off all the front equipment here, so I can reduce some weight from the front. So I just left the front bumper here just for safety, and I've added some weight to the back. I've actually got a few weights here and there and a little bit underneath there. It's total about 60 grams. I'm going to throw it up on my scales. The chassis equals out to 50-50 front and rear bias. For the front droop, I have it extends up to about 10 or so. I should be able to get it in there. Yeah, about 10. And do that all the way around, front and rear. Rear as well. I do for droop 10. Reason why I do it this way, at least for our carpet setup, our tires are a little bit on the grippy side on our carpet surface, and I do want to maximize the effect of front lifting up and reducing grip on the front, so I can achieve more angle, get the car more sideways before the front starts to grip up. And that's basically for on throttle. And for off throttle, because I have droop on the rear, when I hit the brakes or let off, the rear is going to lift up and is actually going to slide longer. If it slides too much on you to the point where it's making you spin out, I would suggest dialing back the droop. I bet you could start off with, let's say, 0 front droop and 0 rear droop, and start adding it to where you feel it, to where it feels right. The springs in the rear, I'm using the reds that come with Eagle Racing. I've got the damper setting all the way in there, all the way tucked in tight, and also on the bottom here. See if you can see that. I have it all the way in. From what I've seen, it seems like it softens up the rear dampening more. So I'm trying to maximize rear grip. So when I give it gas, the front lifts up and the rear squats down. From what I understand, it seems like it equates to the grip, and grip is good, makes you go faster and helps you hold more angle before spinning out. One little thing that I did here, which can be debatable as far as its use, but I'm going to say how it works for me. I added Pro Squat, meaning if you look at the suspension mount there and the suspension mount inside here, I went ahead and I raised the rear one, basically where the 2 screws are on this side and on the other side. I just sandwiched in between a 1mm spacer. Therefore it raises up the rear suspension kind of like on this angle, like that, kind of towards the front. From what I understand, that when it's called Pro Squat, so when I give it gas, it makes it easier for the rear to squat down. That's as much as I know about it, and it seems like it gives it more grip through and through. The other side of the spectrum is actually adding it to the front instead, so your rear suspension would actually be at an angle like this. And that's called anti-squat. And from what I've seen in my experience, it for me, it makes the rear end a little bit looser, which can be desirable if, let's say, your rear is too grippy, if that's possible. From what I've seen, it would help lighten up the rear and let it swing out longer and further, which can be kind of fun, so it helps you get more angle. But if you're, like I said, in my experience, if you're lacking rear grip, I would say go ahead and try Pro Squat, lifting up the rear suspension mount. On my Eagle Racing gyro, I opted to put it in this position right here. For me, it seems like it works better. I'm able to raise the gain a little bit more, and it's not as twitchy. And for some reason, it feels a little bit more natural on the car. So I started using it here, and there you have it. The pulley gears are still stock. I've got the 1818, the 23, and the 32 in the rear there. That seems to be working fine for me. The belt tension, I just have it slightly tight, not too tight, just a little bit of wag right there, a little bit of looseness. The camber that I have, well, the reason that I do my camber this way is to fit it underneath my 240SX, my 1 via body. The body's, it's a knockoff R2 Hobbies body. It's actually 190mm, which is really tight. So what I do is I run the offset 4 and 4 with a -8 in the front and -4 in the rear. Ideally, I would prefer to run it 0 in the rear and maybe about like 3, maybe 4 in the front, just to maximize the contact patch of the tire, which equates to more grip. The servo here is the Eagle Racing S8 servo. It's actually really fast. It's a 0.08 and I love it. And they have a few different sizes. They got the shrimpy size like this, the low profile, and they got the wider one. So I went with the low profile just to make it more flush right here. The motor I have right here is it's also available on Broadtech. I love all their stuff. It's super cheap and it's super good. It is the Z-Zone D-Spec. This one is a 8.5. You can use a 10.5, would be just fine. In this one, if you get it with this combo, the Kinetic, you get it for about at least 120 bucks or so. Just plug it in and pretty much go. It's really good. I wouldn't recommend spending more money than that on a motor combo, because all of them will do pretty much the same thing. You just change the gearing on the spur and pinion, and you'll be able to get it the way you want. For my caster, I'm not exactly sure how much caster I have, but let's say I know my front is -8, standing still at static. But when I get full lock, it goes positive and goes about, I can't tell, maybe about, let's say maybe about like +8 or so. It's pretty good. As far as I understand, when you have the rounded tires, contact patch is usually all the same. What the caster is doing in this case, it is actually doing what's called cross-jacking. As far as the way it's been explained to me is that the front, this side right here, the positive side, was actually going to lift up this side of the chassis and squat down on the opposite side. And from what I understand, that gives this tire more grip and helps you push the car in this direction. What I'm also doing is I have the KPI setting. I think it's about 6 degrees or so. It's got, the top inner hole right there and the bottom outer right there. And what that does is it makes your trailing wheel, which is, let's say I'm going in this direction, like that, it will actually make this trailing wheel go more positive, which maximizes the contact patch of the tire, which equates to more grip, allowing you to get more sideways. One way that I achieved a little bit more wider offset, wider tracking in the front, while reducing the scrub radius, I went ahead and lengthened the lower control arm at this point right here. What you can do is you take apart the lower control arm from the 2 suspension mounts there, pop it off, and with it in your hand you go ahead and you take out the screw that holds on this ball cup right here. You pop that out, and in between there you can grab some spacers. Eagle Racing's got like a bunch of them in like many different sizes and all the main colors, the light blue, the dark blues, the blacks, the reds, and you can go ahead and grab that. Here's my cat visiting. Her name is Molly. So on each side I put one of these right in between, inside the blue part right here, inside the lower control arm. They'll actually widen the offset, and you just make the adjustment right here for the camber to make it whatever you need to be. From what I understand, when you widen the front track, it makes the car have a little more stability when steering, and it allows you to get a little more angle as well. Just helps the front stay more stabilized. So that's always good. The front, I would say, is about 4 to 5 millimeters wider than on the rear. I like it this way. I do it on all my cars. It's just a starting point. It may be possible if it's wider, it could allow you to have more steering, make it more effective, or make it faster perhaps. One thing I did right here to hide all my motor wires, actually put inside these holes right here and trace them, snake them in through down here and straight to the motor. That way it helps clean up the chassis a little bit. I like it. The shocks, here's a little pro tip that I would recommend on your Eagle Racing shocks. If you're still having problems with them leaking or perhaps getting stuck, what I would go ahead and grab some of these right here. The Dubro for 40 nylon flat washers. You take these, and it's such a minor little thing. These things could be about $1 or so if you buy them at a store, or it could be up to $4 or $5 if you buy them on eBay. But if you take apart your shock, let's say you go down here, you take off the bottom ball cup. It's kind of dark. Take off the bottom ball cup, and of course take off the lower collar, take off the spring. You take off the bottom ball cup, then the little blue part underneath, the blue collar, you want to screw that part out. With that free, you go ahead and from the inside where the shaft is reaching inside the shock, they have two O-rings, two rubber O-rings. Just take out the bottom one, replace it with one of these, and do that all around, and pack everything back up, and your Eagle Racing shock will work amazingly. It was such a huge difference from such a minor thing. The shocks in the front I have here are the Sakura. As I remember, they are Sakura, not orange, one step down. I believe they might be pink. It's a one step down from the orange ones, which are kind of hard. I have about 1 degree toe out. I normally just do toe by sight. Camber, I do use a camber gauge. Toe, I just do by sight. To me, it looks about 1 or so. You can tell. If you have a setting board, you could probably do it perfectly, but I've been doing this for about 6 years, and toe is maybe the one thing that I'm very lax on. I can do that by sight. I just make sure it's kind of equal left to right. Also, when you do your full lock, just make sure nothing's rubbing up on one another. This looks like it's really close to the shock, but actually it's not touching. It's about a millimeter or 2 in there at full lock, and even when suspension compresses, drops, or raises, it doesn't touch the shock there, so that's fine. Let's see here. Put the minions up and adjust this. That's kind of like what my my steering full lock looks like. It's almost parallel. I would say maybe a little bit more on the leading tire, and then let's go ahead and switch to the other side, and right there, that's what I got. Almost parallel, maybe a little more positive on the leading one. You do have the adjustable steering stoppers, which are inside of here. Those guys, let me see if I point to it. This thing right there. You can adjust that with your 1.5 and bring it out or in to adjust your steering lock. I highly recommend just always double check your steering lock when you're before driving and after driving, just to see where you're at, because let's say if you have too much lock, this tire or rim will actually rub up underneath rub up on the lower control arm. That is, unless you have like a huge offset and it doesn't come anywhere close to it. But on mine, since I'm running such a low offset 4, it comes pretty close, so I got to make sure I watch out for that. And I would say my current settings, I don't know, maybe about 75 degrees. You can see I have full locks right there, about 75 or so. And that's really good. I'm happy with that. I'm running my shocks pretty close to the inside, as far as I can go, because the biggest problem with the front motor cars is the shock hitting the spur, your holder here. So I have it about right there, and I got as tight as I can go. My motor, like I said, is 8.5. The spur and pinion combo that I have on it, this one is, let me see if I remember, that is a 116, and my pinion is a 30. Pinion is a 30, which is very, very fast. Like I said, the MST tires are the gold dot. I got the FRFs in the front. I don't recall the part numbers on those, but you see right there, it's nice and rounded. And it helps, since it's super rounded on the inside, that gives you a better shot of not hitting the shocks right there. So I definitely love running these whenever I can. And whenever I use a tire that isn't MST, I end up filing down just so I can do the same exact thing. And on the rear, you got the MST. These are the GA26s. They have a really big lip right here, nice stretch. Helps you get your tire under your body if there's a problem that you have. I'm kind of torn between it having words on the side. I guess it's kind of cool. Pro Drift Tire. If you're a pro drifter, you might be running these tires. And then on the other side, it's Max Speed Technology. The battery I'm running in the back position. This really helps it get more weight to the rear. I end up putting this sideways here, just kind of bounce my receiver, putting it long ways on the side here as far back as I can, and I did it just to make the chassis look more equally balanced. And as always on all my chassis, I got the Eagle Racing brake discs inside of there. I think they're super awesome. Got them on the fronts and on the backs. See them right inside there. The gyro sensitivity I have on here, it's about at 75 or so. Just run it as high as I can up until I get to the point where there's any awkward steering, jittering or wobbling, like you're rolling down the track and the steering is going like this. That's when you know they should probably put in the gyros. Eagle Racing has a bunch of tools available. Of course, all your standard sets, the 1.5, the 2, and the 2.5. What I did on my set here, I went ahead and added a mark right there, 1, 2, and 3. That helps me select the tool I need a little bit faster, so I don't have to look at the head or look at the number on there. I just look at the stripe on there. Just use a black Sharpie and just sharp it up. This one right here is kind of an oddball. This actually is a ball driver. I actually combined 2 tools to make this one right here. I bought this little ball head online, and it came with a tiny little handle, and so I thought it was useless. So I broke that handle off, and since I saw that this was you can switch these out, I went ahead and popped it inside, tightened it up, and now I got a ball head with a really good grip handle. So what I did, I added like little notches there, so I know that is my second tool, and I know that is a ball head. That's how I differentiate between all of them right here. Eagle Racing has these digital scales for about $10 or $12 a piece. So I went ahead and I picked up 4. So what I'll go ahead, I'll do my cross weight checks. I'll put them under each tire in the very, very center of the scale here, and I can find out how much my chassis weighs and find out which which end is heavier or lighter. So I do have a video which I will include right over here to show you how to find out your weight bias on your car. Here we go, just in case anybody's wondering. The batteries here, I can find out the weights for you. These are Eagle Racing Lipos, really good batteries. Let's see right here, the 3900, it weighs I always like rounding up, 207. Bigger battery here. This I run on my R31 to make the rear a little bit heavier, since the front's pretty heavy with the motor up there. You see I got it right there. Also, whenever picking up batteries, always get a matching set. Always get a pair of them. That way, handling will always be the same, because you know they weigh exactly the same. And while you're playing with one battery, you have the other battery charging. So as soon as that one dies, you can just switch them out and you never have to stop. So this one right here, the 5600 from Eagle Racing, weighs 269. So it's a bit heavier. And let's see right here, the shorty one, which I have in my TA05, boom, boom, 4600. This one weighs 210. So you can definitely use batteries as a method of weight balancing your chassis. And before I forget, Eagle Racing also has camber gauges as well. Ah.